My initial plans with this vehicle was to do a two-step correction, an interior cleaning, an engine cleaning, and then film it all and of course post it on YouTube and Instagram. But that quickly changed. In today's video, I'll recap why this is one of the worst details I've ever worked on, why I'm limited on the results that I can produce, and what you should do if you get in a similar situation. So this actually wasn't a paying customer's vehicle. It was more of a gift. I wanted to get a vehicle, do a bunch of content, and posted it on YouTube and Instagram. But then it turned to a great lesson on what you should do to manage customers' expectations and what to do when you get a vehicle that is in the condition that you thought it was. And should you still do the service? Do you charge more? Do you not do it at all? So I figured it'd be a great learning lesson for those that are doing this as a business. So as far as the condition, this is the worst vehicle I've worked on with water etchings. The glass, the paint, the headlights, the tail lights, the wheels are littered with heavy water etchings. For the glass, I did a microfiber cutting disc with a compound. It did nothing. Then I went to a rotary with a wool pad and a compound. It did nothing. Then I went to the CarPro glass cutting pad with the CarPro glass compound, and it did nothing. Now for the paints on the passenger side, you have to sand with 2000 grit to get any decent results. On the driver's side, it's a bit better, and you can sand with 3000 and get decent results. But by no way can you just do correction on the vehicle, because it's not gonna make much of a difference, because the water etchings are just so deep in there that you have to go to wet sanding. This is why it's important to ask questions when you're talking to the customer, right? Whether it's email, text, call, ask questions about the condition. And although it's not gonna be perfect as far as how they describe it, at least it gives you a baseline to understand to what degree this condition might be in. Ask for photos. Even if it's interior, exterior, ask questions, ask for photos, and never give a set price point over the phone. Now, there's a bit of a caveat for that because it depends on the service. So if it's a service that is heavily dependent on the condition, then don't. For instance, for us, we don't give an exact number on smoke odor, on full interior cleanings, on paint corrections, because it's highly dependent on the actual condition. And we only know that until we actually see it in person. So we'll give them a general price range just to give a ballpark pricing, but we don't set an exact number until we see the vehicle and until we do a test spot, so we can physically see for ourselves what level of work we're gonna need to get the desired results. I mean, we've been in this situation plenty of times where you think it's gonna be a quick little 2-hour detail or 4-hour detail or 5-hour detail, and then you get there, you're working on the car, and you're noticing more pet hair, and the seats are way dirtier than what you expected, or maybe the exterior has way more overspray than what you anticipated. And now what you thought was gonna be a 3-4 hour detail starts to balloon up to a 6, 7, 8 hour detail. It happens all the time. That's because you don't do your due diligence to make sure, hey, what's the condition of this vehicle? What's the level of expectation? So over the phone, over text, over email, don't ever set, again, depending on the service, don't give an exact number, because for us, if it's a wash and wax, if it's an engine cleaning, we'll give an exact number for those, because there aren't as many variables to work with as far as pricing and time goes versus like the other services that I mentioned. Now here's the part where a lot of detailers will get stuck on. If the condition is much worse than what was anticipated, whether it was through what they told you, whether it's what you thought was going to happen because they sent you photos, if it is much worse, and this is really more of an extreme case where it is like, whoa, this is way worse than what we talked about, than what I saw in photos, it's okay to not go through with the service. Because again, like, it's not until you see it in person where you get to really see what the condition is in, which is why you always give a price range, not a set price point. So if that happens, you have a few options to go with the customer. Like for instance, if it's supposed to be like, let's say a $100 detail, and whatever that means to you, make it up in your head. And when the vehicle gets to you, you're like, whoa, this should actually be like $300, and it's gonna take like double the time to do. So on this one, it really comes down to like how you spoke with the customer in terms of what you guys agreed upon, the details that were kind of shared between the two, and the level of expectation for the customer. Because if you over the phone or whatever form of communication, you said, yeah, Johnny, that sounds good. Look, it really depends until I see it. So, right now I'll say it'll be between, 100 to 200. But once I get there and I see the condition and it needs more work, the price will have to go up. Is that okay with you? Yeah, that's fine, man. Just once you're here, just give me the actual price. But 100, 200 for now is fine. But I understand if it's gonna go up when you get here, that's fine. That scenario is a great scenario because you've already talked with the customer. You've already set that level of expectation. Say, hey, here is the baseline price point. But if indeed we need to go further than that, the price will increase, and they're already ready for that. Whereas if you say it's gonna be $100 for this detail, and it's like black and white, $100 to do XYZ, and you get there and you're like, hey, to do XYZ, we told you it was 100, but now it needs to be actually 250. Is that okay with you? And it's like, well, no, because you said already clear cut, black and white, that it's gonna be $100 for you to come out here. And now to do the same thing, you're not charging 250. Like, that's not right. So in that situation, it's like you kind of put yourself in a bad corner because there was no level of there's no cushion that you gave yourself between you and the customer and what the discrepancy might be once you actually get there and see the condition. So it's like, it really depends on how you communicated with your customer. Now it is up to you, right? If it's really that worse, and I do mean extreme cases, because if you're doing a little light interior cleaning and the customer says, hey, by the way, can you just take care of the little stain right there on that seat? It's probably not a big deal to just get an APC brush and clean that stain off. Not a big deal. You might as well just throw it in there. Now, if they're saying, hey, can you go ahead and shampoo the seats, even though that's not included in the service, that's too far. So if it is too far of what you actually need to do based on what you went there initially, you can either say, at least internally to yourself, you say, okay, well, if I'm gonna do this, I need to charge accordingly, right? Or I do this, I just eat it up because I don't want to disappoint the customer because it was on me for not communicating properly, and you just do it. Or three, you talk to the customer, right? And you say, hey, like, here are your options. Like, we can still do this service at this price point, but it's not going to be as good because we actually need to do like 4 extra steps. But if you just want to pay for the initial agreed upon price, you can do that. There's going to be multiple ways that you can work it. It's hard to give you like an exact answer because it's really a case by case thing that you have to look at and see what's the base course of action for this to work out. So it's happened to us on a couple of services. For instance, like on this vehicle, right? If the customer was like, hey, can I get a wash and wax? And we give them the price and they say like, hey, yeah, there's a few water spots here and there, like, can you take care of that when you get here? We will be very clear saying, hey, it just depends on the level of the condition that it's in. If it's really bad, it's gonna probably require some form of polishing. We'll try to wash it first. We'll try to do a few things, but if it's too far gone, or if it's in the condition where it needs polishing, a wash and wax won't do anything to it. But we'll inspect it. But a general price point for polishing the water spots off, depending on the condition, and then I'm just make up a number between 400 to 600. And if they agree, it's like, yeah, just come out here and just see it in person. And if not, we'll just do the wash and wax, right? So like you're giving them multiple options of like, hey, if you do have water spots, here's the price point for the polishing. And then you tell like, hey, like, but if like the customer said, like if they're too far gone, or if like it's not a big deal, we'll just continue to wash and wax and forget about the water spots. I'll just leave them there. Now, if this customer came to us with the same service saying, hey, I want to wash and wax, we wouldn't even do the wash and wax. Like, even if no, it's okay, just do it, we'll pay you. It's like, if we do this, it's gonna do nothing to the paintwork. Like, we feel bad doing this. Like, there's no value in getting it done, getting it clayed, getting it waxed. Like, the paint at this point is too far gone. Like, the only thing that it should get is at least a light level of sanding to get some of that gloss back out and a 2-step correction. Other than that, there's nothing really we can do. So if they are coming in for a wash and wax and the paint is just oxidized, cloudy, or a bunch of water spots, we'll downgrade that service to a wash because there's no value in that service because the customer won't get any of the benefits the vehicle won't get any of the benefits. Now, don't just go through the service because you told the customer you were. Again, it depends on the multiple situations and things that we just talked about. But you got to remember, like, if you go through a service that's going to require a lot more time, a lot more effort, you're not going to be happy about it, right? Every hour you're there, you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm not making any money. This is so much work. Why did I agree about this? I can't book another customer because I'm taking on this work. So like, just because, like, if the vehicle is in a much worse condition and you're still going to do it because you don't want to upset the customer or you don't want to talk to the customer, don't do that, because it's going to end up making you much more frustrated. You're going to be very annoyed. You're not going to be happy for that day or 2 days that you're working on the vehicle. So if you do have a vehicle of that condition, again, more of the extreme case, you talk to the customer, and if need be, you don't do it because you have to get properly compensated for the amount of time and effort that you're going to put into it. But I'll go ahead and end the video right there. Let me know in the comment section down below if you've been in a similar situation where you've got a really bad vehicle, and then did you change the price? Did you not do it? Did you still go through with it? Let me know what you would do in the comment section down below. You can check the description box for the ultimate guide to start your detailing business, my podcast, the Detailing Business Class podcast, or my second YouTube channel, the Proper Care channel, where I talk and teach everything detailing related. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to everyone on the next one. Bye-bye.